So I'd like to talk to you today about how to do this black background effect. When I started using it um, on all my video conferences, my colleagues started to ask me, how did you do that? Assuming that I did something digitally, but it's not actually a digital effect. It's actually very simple, very cheap, and very easy to do. And so I'm going to teach you exactly how this works and how I put it all together. Now, when I first started sheltering in place about 6 months ago, I had to start working from home and sharing an office with my wife. And the two of us were trying to talk at the same time, and things weren't working out. And so I ended up moving to a different part of the house and wanted a little bit more privacy. I'm now working from part of the house I wouldn't normally invite guests into. And so for me, it just didn't feel right. To be broadcasting this background image to everyone that I work with and those that I'm on video conference calls with. So I wanted a solution to this. And what most people are doing is they're using a virtual background. And the trouble with a virtual background is that we can fake spot right away. We know right away that's a virtual background. You see the halo effect, the fuzziness, sometimes their hair is coming in and out of the picture, and it's just bad. And you can tell. And I didn't want that image. I wanted a much more professional image that was going to project, allow people to focus on my ideas and not on the hideousness of my virtual background setup. And so I started to think about what my different options are, right? The first thing I thought about is, well, I could set up a green screen.
How does this? Oh, shit. Oh, yep.
This involves putting up a colored background and using software to put two images together, right? So that I have a background of whatever I want. The trouble with a green screen is it's really hard to get it right with the lighting. Because if you just, if you look at how I'm lit right now, I'm just lit from the front. There's just a light and I'm casting a shadow back onto my background. And if you do that with a green screen, the color of the green changes and the chroma key can come out of sync, and those shadows cause all kinds of problems. And so it's really hard to get the lighting right, and I didn't want to fuss around with it. I just wanted something that was going to work quickly and easily. And so another issue is I wear glasses. If you're doing green screen, inevitably you're going to pick up some reflection of that green color, and it's going to cause a hole in where your glasses are. Instead of being a reflection of something natural that's in the room, you're going to get whatever the projected background is coming in through where your glasses are. And so for me, that wasn't going to work. It was just going to be too much fussing around, and I didn't want to deal with sharing my CPU power with a piece of software that was going to be running the entire time all of my video conferences were going to be running, and have these things contending for resources against each other. So this is why you don't use a white background, because you can see every imperfection in it. And you also don't want to use something with a pattern on it, because you're going to see the pattern and that's going to distract you from the subject. It's tough to go with an outside background because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of ambient light, and you end up looking darker because there's so much ambient light in the picture itself. And so that brings me to the next possible solution, which is something some of my colleagues have tried, which is using a digital SLR camera using the concept of a narrow depth of field. So how this works is the subject is in focus, but everything behind them is blurry because it's out of focus. This generally requires a very expensive camera, a video capture card. It's set up on a tripod and requires a power cable to it and everything, so it's kind of hard to move around and get it just right. And I've even seen some colleagues use this and it'll work for 45 minutes, but then the camera will overheat and shut off, and It won't run from being plugged in. They can only run off the battery power, so they have to always, make sure that their camera has enough battery in order to last through whatever their presentation is going to be. And I just didn't want to have to deal with all the stress. And so I came up with this concept of using a simple studio black background. And as an engineer, I love simple solutions that don't require a lot of fuss. So here are the benefits of a black background. First of all, they work with any camera. So you can use whatever's built into your laptop, it'll work just fine. It doesn't require any special lighting. So you can have 100% natural light, ambient light, doesn't matter. As long as you're well lit, the effect is going to work great. Next, it can block backlight from behind you. So if you have a window behind you, you'll notice that you look shadowed. The camera's trying to adjust for that really bright light coming through that window. And you might not like, having to darken out that window in order to get rid of that backlight effect. You might really enjoy natural light in your working environment like I do. And so I didn't want to be covering my windows. But if I put this background solution up, I solved that problem. You just look good without having any halo effect around you. Your audience won't be distracted by funny business going on in your background, right? People moving around, pets, whatever. And you can set this entire thing up for about $40. It actually cost me $35 because I already had some spring clips and I already had a cutter. But you can do it all between $40 and $55 depending on whether you have a cutting tool or not. So let's look at what it takes to put it all together. So I built this background. It's made of simple PVC pipe frame and a moving blanket and some spring clamps to hold it to the frame. You don't need to get any screw fittings. You don't need any glue to put the pipes together. You just fit it together. All you have to do is cut the pipes to length, put them in the fittings, and clip the blanket up. I kid you not, I put the thing together in less than 5 minutes. So my blanket, when I got it, was a bit creased when I got it. So after I unfolded, I spent about 10 minutes ironing it. You have to iron it on a really low setting because I think it's made of some kind of nylon polymer or something. So I spent about 10 minutes ironing it to get the creases out, and after that, it was ready to go. Let's take a minute and look at the budget here. You need 4 lengths of PVC pipe. Be sure you get the Schedule 40. You need 4 spring clamps to hold the blanket up. You need 4 T-fittings, 2 elbows, and I bought end caps for my feet. You don't have to use end caps. You want to save a few bucks, you can skip that, but I decided to put that on so that it would work on hard surfaces as well as carpet. And you need a way to cut PVC pipe. So now let's go outside and see how this whole thing gets put together. Okay, so now that you know all the parts that go into building the kit, you can start with the build. So basically all you do is you cut down the PVC pipe, put it together with the fittings, and use the clips to hold the moving blanket on. Now you can use whatever you want to use to cut PVC pipe. You can use a hacksaw, you can use an ordinary saw. I like to use this PVC ratchet cutter. It makes it really super easy to cut the tubes to length. So what I do is I just line them up either to where I've measured or to another pipe the size that I want it, and you just ratchet straight down on it. You don't have to be very strong, it just cuts through super easy, and you end up with a nice clean cut. So that's how I cut all of these so that I didn't have any issues taking the cut pieces and fitting them into the fittings like this. So once you're all done making your cuts, now you need to put these things together. So I ended up with 4 pieces that are 2 feet long each. And I ended up with 2 pieces that are 4 feet long each. And 2 pieces that are 6 feet long each. That is it. So here's how they all fit together. These are going going to be the feet. Just going to fit that together like this. We're going to make 2 of those. So fit that together like this. Now we take those 2 stilts that we made with the 2 T's popping out, facing each other. Then we're going to put the 6-foot lengths in between those. Okay, so now I've got this. Notice I didn't use any glue. I intentionally didn't use any glue because I want to be able to take this thing apart whenever I want or adjust it. I thought maybe I might, want to use it standing up and put some higher uprights inside, or use it sitting down and use some smaller uprights. So next, we're going to put some elbows at the top of the 4-foot lengths, and then put those in the top of your T's. Alright, so let's look at what that looks like. Then you take your second 6-foot length, put that in at the top. Now we have our frame. So now we just take these spring clips. These are 2-inch spring clips. They cost 99 cents each. We take the spring clips and our moving blanket. So this moving blanket doesn't have any pattern on it. We're just going to take that, clip it to the top, clip it to the other side, and then to the bottom. That's the whole deal. So now, let's see how this would work. I get into my desk. I say, all right. Adjust it up. Make sure that I'm well front lit, which, because I'm outside, I'm not. But we'll take this inside and see what it looks like when you have lighting coming in from the front. And now we're inside, and you can see what it looks like when I have the dark background to my back and I'm sitting in front of a window. My desk is facing a window. You notice if the subject is not well lit, the background will come into view. If you are well lit, then your background will fade out. Okay, so you can add a little bit of light, and you get the black background effect that you want. So the further away your background is from you, the easier it is for you to get the effect that you're looking for. I hope you enjoyed the overview and the alternatives, and let me know what you think.